And now the 419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Welcome into the 419, powered by WGTE, presented by Witro Wealth Management. I'm Kevin Mullen.
Gretchen DeBacker.
Way to go, Gretchen. Matt Killam.
You know, that's the first test of the show.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just making sure that we all know our own names.
And it's
They
hard.
get easier from here on out.
We're going to spend the show getting to know other people, but it's, you know, in order to, I think Isabella White said, you can't give what you don't have.
Yes.
And so if you don't know yourself, can you really know someone else?
And that's the show.
How's your day?
Not bad. How about you?
Getting there. Today was the first morning. I'm embarrassed to say that I did not rely on my GPS to get here, which is not, I'm not traversing a wide berth either.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I totally understand that.
it is a pretty straight shot, and I still look at it as if I'm going to veer into the Potomac. So
Is this like a unique end of town that you need the GPS, or do you use the GPS all the time?
I'm pretty reliant on it. I'm embarrassed to say. I mean, this is my hometown. If nothing else, I also like to get an idea of how much time it's going to take me to get there, so I'll plug it in. It's just some frame of reference.
I don't even pretend to use that excuse.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I just don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know north, south, east, west. I can't get anywhere.
I'm strong in that.
Yeah.
I've been people like, oh, you just jump on 23 or 475, or I'm like,
No.
yeah.
I had a moment kind of early in my adult life in Toledo, working for Fox Toledo downtown, had to get to breaking news in Bowling Green, and this is like GPS, certainly wasn't on my phone at the time. And I remember getting a phone call about a half hour after I left the station from the news director saying, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm almost to Perrysburg." And he was like, "Where did you go?" And I was like, 475 to 23
Yep.
to like,
Sure.
that's how you
Yep.
get to Bowling
Just
Green.
getting off the turnpike.
Because I literally, and so the number of times I get in the car and my wife is like, "Where are you going?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "My parents' house, I don't know." But I would just show up. There was one time that I actually was driving, I don't even know where we were going, but I turned down the road to head to my parents' house because I was in mindless mode.
Sure.
Body took over, and it's like, yeah, I guess I'm on this end of town. This is why I'm here.
Yeah, and you drive like this.
That's right, I do. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not a 10 and 2 person.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like a 5 and 7.
7 and 5. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
That's true.
right.
Yep.
That's the right way
That's
to-
how we were
that's
taught
the
in my
right-
day. Yeah.
Gretchen rode like this,
Yes.
right? You hold the.
I like this. I have my seat up real close. Yeah.
Well, I meant like the stirrups to like
Oh.
get the horse moving.
So
Good one.
I do think that, I remember when I went to Central, my dad was able to drop me off all throughout the city with, I have no idea how he knew where we were going. Like we went to Point Place, we went into Sylvania. Today, we would be homebodies. I would force my kids to homeschool.
Totally lost. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
We got an exciting show today. We're going to take a look at our Toledo.com community calendar driven by TARDA. John Eikest from Toledo.com is going to join us. We're also going to have
Rhonda Sewell from the Art Museum is going to talk about their MLK Day event. And we're going to have Andrew Newby from Toledo Spirits to join us.
awesome.
Yeah.
Is he bringing supplies?
I've been told that we'll have breakfast bourbon.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
I don't either. We'll see.
Is that like that's like whole grain Cheerios?
That's exactly right.
It's
Yeah.
exactly the
That's
same
exactly
thing.
what that is. All right. So all of that and more on a Thursday edition of the 419, powered by WGTE. We'll be right back. Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at WitroAdvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back to the 419. We're taking a look at our Toledo.com community calendar driven by TARDA. And our good friend John Ikest joins us again. John, hello.
Good morning. Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you.
Yeah, you guys you made it a whole week.
Well, did we though?
That's exciting.
Yes, we never left. We never left.
And we appreciate you coming back. And as we talked about before, Toledo.com is a community calendar. We rely on it.
The community calendar.
It really is.
Thank you.
It really is. And so we're going to talk about some of the, not some of them, but the top 5 picks of the week. You want to get started?
Yeah, sure. So
Before we dive into them, I'm
sorry.
curious as to what the criteria that you use to determine, like, what are the top 5? Like, how do we get there?
that's
Is it-
right.
It's all
How
kicked.
much money changes?
It's all
straight money.
It's all kickback.
How do you think I afford these clothes?
That's right. These gray pull-ups don't pay for themselves.
No, so no one pays to be in the top 5, and because if they did, I think we would lose the integrity of the list pretty quickly.
But you would have more money.
I would definitely have more money. I'm gonna have to rethink that
Yeah,
this week.
reevaluate. Talk about it next week.
Yeah, but no, we try to spread the love. So there are a lot of organizations that do weekly events and have a lot of things on their annual calendar, and then there are things, we touched upon it last week. There are some nonprofits that have 1 or 2 big fundraisers a year. So we try to keep an eye on that whole calendar and not necessarily feature the symphony every week or the zoo or the Metro Parks, whatever. It just there's so much going on, and so we just try to give everybody a chance throughout the whole year.
And anybody can submit to the Toledo.com calendar, and you can submit for free.
That's right.
By emailing or going on the website and
Yep.
submitting their event that will be put on the calendar.
That's right. You only have to have a working email address, and you're out. And people submit, we moderate it, and usually within 24 hours it's up live on the calendar, and it has all the relevant details, including additional details about what might be happening at the event, that type of thing.
And it's not like when we think about this list of 5. I mean, it's not you saying these are the best 5 events.
Absolutely not.
This weekend.
It's generally what has the biggest impact of the week. So it's no offense to the smaller events, but we're talking about events where maybe hundreds and thousands of people are going to be there as opposed to dozens. And
Like that famous Rod Stewart concert in Brazil.
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is the 9th largest collection of human beings in the history of the planet.
Is that true?
Yes, yeah, Rod Stewart is in the top 10 list, as it should be.
Yeah, I would have expected that.
Tune in next week to our entire show about Rod Stewart and his sparkling
guest.
career. John, you are an incredibly sweet soul, so I don't know how you're going to react to this question, but
How do I like Rod Stewart?
yeah, I need to know. How did you enjoy the concert that you took your family to in Brazil? Did you have good seats? No, whenever people bemoan the fact that there's nothing to do here, as somebody who sees hundreds of events come in, your reaction to that, I mean, what you know how much there is happening.
Yeah, I think sometimes it feels like my biggest beef about Toledo is there are people who just wait for 10 of their friends to say, hey, this is going to be a really great event, or this is going to be cool, versus just, kind of finding out what it is that you like to do and
Wander? I mean, honestly.
Yeah,
sure.
So just check out all these, all the programming and places that you wouldn't necessarily expect.
County jail, right?
There's events there.
Yeah.
Gretchen will
You
be
tell
there.
us about all the ones that happen there.
Yeah, if you're looking for an overnight experience.
No, but places like Toledo Spirits, on one hand, some people might think, oh, that's just kind of like a place to go and grab drinks, but then you realize that they have workshops and things that, teaching you how to make drinks and bringing in specialists. That's just one example, but I think that there are a lot of, in the same way that the Mud Hens and the Walleye bring in special promotions to expand the kind of the net. There are a lot of organizations and businesses that do the exact same thing. So,
But I kind of feel like you are that guy. Like, I think that's why the calendar is so good and can be relied upon, is because you are the guy that explores these things. You're often the person that knows about these, even the small events up to the big event. You talk them up to people. So as an individual, you embody sort of that exploring the community kind
Is
of vibe.
is this like chicken and the egg though a little
Yeah.
bit, right? Is that like, did you become that guy because of the Toledo.com calendar, or did the calendar come about because you were already that
How comfortable
guy?
are you with self-promotion, John?
That's a good question. I think it's a little both. Once you do start to dive into it and you're trying to find out additional information, you start to connect, with these people who are putting these things on, and you realize how hard they're working to put it on for
Yes,
the
sir.
community. And so I've been a big believer that you got to show up. You got to show up. You got to be there to experience it. And I've actually put on events before, and so it's one of those things where you feel like, man, is anybody going to show up at this thing? And then when they do, it's great. And when it's a little light, you feel less enthused.
Is there an event that maybe it made the 5 1 week that you were like, I'm going to go check this out, but I don't really know what it is, and it just kind of surprised you, or pleasantly surprised you to say,
What was
like,
the last surprise moment for John Eichest from an event standpoint?
Man,
Rod Stewart, Brazil?
yeah.
There's no surprise there. Rod Stewart is.
I think just certain fundraisers, there are certain, like one that comes to mind that we've kind of partnered with in the last couple of years is Jam City for Food for Thought. That's one where I'm not a big foodie, but I love PB&J, and it's a PB&J event. And maybe when we get to that month, that could be one of the top 5. But it's a bunch of restaurants and chefs' take on PB&J inspired dishes. So it's not just 20 different sandwiches. It's various dishes.
That's a good event.
And so when I went to that, I was just kind of blown away, and have been going back every year. That's just the one that comes to mind.
I remember a Dietz Barbecue had a PB&J like slider.
Yeah.
That was pork with like I'm gonna butcher it, but it was like a peanut butter barbecue sauce and then like jelly. Oh, it was so good.
I remember it.
It was so good. Yeah. Let's just spend a few more minutes just talking about how good
Just reminisce about a
that
pork
sandwich
sandwich.
was. No, I mean, but I like those. As somebody who works in the nonprofit space, it's always a challenge to find a fundraising event that aligns with your mission and who you are.
Yeah.
And so I think Jam City's a good example of that. Food for Thought. Passing out PB&J sandwiches kind of throughout the year, and so I think that that type of event is challenging, right? I worked with the Partners in Education and the Dragon Boat Festival
Right.
for years, but people who rode in that thing every year had no idea that it was a fundraiser for Partners in Education because there was no mission connection
Yeah, I wrote
whatsoever.
in it, and I just assumed it was an educational on Vikings.
Well, and you touched
right.
on something too. A lot of nonprofits don't necessarily have a huge marketing budget, and so, unlike maybe the Mud Hens, where you might see some print ads and some billboards and those kinds of things, these events sneak up on people if you're not paying attention. Sure. And so, something like the Dragon Boat Festival, it could come and go if you don't pay attention. So that's one of the ways I think that Toledo.com is a resource, is just to your one-stop shop. We're trying to pull in all that information into one spot.
And you can also go, speaking of getting that information, you can go to Toledo.com and you can put your email and you'll get this list sent to you.
Yeah, another freebie.
Each week, the picks.
Another freebie. You
Totally
can sign
free.
up for our weekly newsletter, the top 5 events in Toledo. And just come. We don't sell that list. We don't use it to promote anything
Again,
else.
another mistake on your part.
I'm rethinking my entire business plan.
Yeah.
this
But
morning.
another way to be
More
in
Rod
the know.
Stewart,
Right.
less.
That's right.
More sales.
It was everything else.
But yeah, again, a free resource. We have also a press release distribution site that's a sister site called Tell Toledo. So I get a lot of press releases, and I would encourage anyone to keep sending press releases to John at Toledo.com. Those would go on the site, but then on Tell Toledo, in the same way that you would submit an event, you submit a press release, and it could be about a new business opening, it could be about an event, it could be about, really just about anything under the sun.
We're talking with John Eichest with Toledo.com, taking a look at our Toledo.com community calendar and our top 5.
Yep.
We're going to drop in, let's jump in on the 5 for this week.
Let's start number 1.
Number 1 is Toledo Symphony Orchestra. So they are going to have Handel, Bach, and Stravinsky at the Valentine Theater. 2 nights, this Friday and Saturday. Not to be confused with Handel's.
I was this close to.
I wanted to beat you to it.
Yeah,
I knew
so
it was
good.
in your mind.
Yeah.
But I think that's impossible cross promotions. Ice cream and symphony music.
That's right.
You know,
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
it could happen.
100%. Yeah.
We'll reach out to Zach and let him know that should be something they promote.
He might still be here.
You might.
I want to. Why'd you look down on that?
That's
I
you saying
wanna-
that.
I want to see just like the beer mile, right? But I want to see it with the symphony and ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That how much Handels can they eat while playing?
Nothing says the
Handel.
Midwest like
Yeah,
buying a
nothing.
fair amount of dairy.
A bunch of dairy and
Yeah.
some woodwinds. This sounds great.
You can
I like
get
it.
more information about that concert at liveartstoledo.com. This weekend coming up is Martin Luther King weekend. A lot of
Right.
people have off this coming Monday.
Right.
So the rest of our events are all around that weekend, and you wanted to highlight a couple of those. Let's start with the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Breakfast that's put on by the Alphas.
Yeah, Alpha Phi Alpha. They've been doing it for years, and it is typically at the Pinnacle. And I'm not sure tickets are still available. They were when we
They were
kind
pretty
of
hot
compiled
item.
it, but
Yeah.
they go pretty quickly. They usually have kind of a keynote speaker. Really, most of these events that we'll touch on related to MLK and his legacy will be, a keynote speaker involved somehow. But they also recognize and involve young people at their event, and that's pretty extraordinary to watch. Just a room full of people inspiring young people, and young people inspiring
Absolutely.
older folks
Yeah,
as
it's well
well.
said.
So
Yeah, the focus of their event is to give scholarship money away, so it's always a very, very good event.
absolutely.
More on that can be found at on Facebook, I believe, by searching for that event.
And
Then-
Can't get that information anywhere
Yeah,
else.
that's
folks.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
More information can be found by just searching for
on
it.
Facebook.
What
Up to the date information.
I knew this show should have been 3 hours.
I had a crazy thought, but I feel like they might be able to get to more information at Toledo.com.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Right?
You know what?
See, it's a full circle. John, write that
Yeah,
down.
go ahead. Yeah. I mean, there's no ink in it,
I'm
but
going to need you to put some information there first.
yeah.
Okay,
Keep
number,
reading,
number,
Gretchen.
number 3. Go ahead, John.
Number 3 is Glenwood Lutheran Church puts together, they're kind of like the central hub for an annual MLK celebration. They were doing it for years. I think that for a while it ended, and then in the last several years it's come back as strong as ever.
Yeah.
So there is a keynote speaker, Clarence Smith Community Chorus, the Fellowship, let me get this right, the Fellowship Community Choir is performing. Dr. Anthony Patton puts together like the musical aspect of the program. I've been to this the last couple of years, and it's really uplifting.
Yes.
Very music focused, and just amazing to be at Glenwood. So Glenwood Lutheran Church is the church that's directly right next to the Toledo Museum of Art.
And that's this Sunday at 3 o'clock.
That's right.
We're running a little bit short on time, so
Okay.
we're going to move on to the next event, which is the MLK Day event at the Toledo Museum of Art.
Yep, and so, typically when we do this, we would talk about what's going on up until Sunday. Martin Luther King Day falls on Monday, so at TMA, they have the MLK Day at TMA. Again, keynote speaker, but more importantly, just an afternoon of things that you can do in like their family outreach center, for
Which is
example.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a really great space, and Voices of BGSU, another choir that focuses on spirituals, will be performing there. And the museum is typically closed on Monday, but they open back up specifically for this.
And Rhonda Sewell from the museum is our next guest, so we'll get into more details on that.
We'll
and
get to
how
the
people
truth.
can join. We'll fact check you. The last one is the MLK celebration with the NAACP of Toledo.
Yeah, so this is at the Macedonia Baptist Church. Again, another way to honor the legacy of Dr. King, and a keynote speaker who is coming down from NAACP Detroit chapter, and just to again deliver an inspiring message and maybe give us all a chance to pause and figure out how to turn those
Be better to one
words
another.
turn those words into action, and be better.
I was like the idea of a day on instead of a day off, right? And so instead of, it's like, hey, I don't have to go to work today, so I'm going to stay home and I'm going to, catch up on these things around the house. It's really having some intentionality and saying, let me go out and let me do some things to truly honor the legacy. And I think there's some educational piece as well about, better understanding, what Dr. King was, goals and dreams were, but also to look and see, how those are lived out in our community and the different roles that we can play in making those happen.
I'm a trailblazer in that conceptually. I've never, ever thought about taking time to do anything around my house.
If you did stay home, it's not on the top 5, but the city of Toledo always does an online kind of honoring of the day where there are, it's typically has been poets and speakers and anybody in the community who's doing some really good work. So that's another thing you can do if you do happen to have the day off. You could still tune in. I don't know the times off the top of my head, but it's online. You can go to the City of Toledo's website.
So Gretchen would tell you that you could find that information by looking for it.
Just Google it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Perfect. John, thank you so much.
Always.
Always appreciate kind of diving in and looking at our Toledo.com community calendar driven by TARDA. He's John Eikist. We'll be right back with Rhonda Sewell from the Toledo Museum of Art.
To me, community means connecting to others.
What will it really take to bring peace to Toledo's neighborhoods?
I love PBS Kids!
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
It's all chapters in a book.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the Old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Brings back memories that you don't think are there,
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
The people of Toledo have really become family. They walk in and it's just like, hey, it's so good to see you.
Hello there and welcome to a WGTE Public Media Town Hall meeting.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
I love PBS Kids.
Welcome back into the 419. We're taking a look at some of the top events around the region driven by TARDA. We're joined now by Rhonda Sewell, back for week number 2. This is just going to be a regular thing, right? You're going to be on with us every week?
All day.
All day, every day.
I love it. Well, that's going to make the show better. So
No, you guys, the launch was amazing. Everyone has been responding. This has been really fun. It really has. I'm so proud of you guys.
Thank you.
I am.
Well, it certainly helps when we get the star power of Rhonda Sewell behind it. And you had a very kind post about the show and about the launch, and we certainly appreciate that.
Thank you.
We're talking about some of the top events of the weekend.
Yes.
And you guys have got a big event coming up at Toledo Museum of Art.
We do. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. So MLK Day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Traditionally, the museum is always closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. Everyone knows that, right, in town. Open Wednesday through Sunday. But for the last over 5 years, we have opened intentionally on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is a federal holiday, as you know. And it has been like gangbusters.
Absolutely.
School's out, and usually some workplaces honor the federal holiday. And people come out in droves.
Yes.
And so we have always intentionally wanted to have activities for the public to come in. And it really aligns with our value system and who we are. Dr. King preached about unity. Our mantra really is a commitment to quality and also nurturing a sense of belonging. And so that goes hand in hand with his teachings.
It is the exact opposite in terms of quality that our approach at this show.
Dr. King, I think, would be proud of this show.
How did that conversation start
at
TMA to say, we're always closed on these days, but this is a day. We talked about it in the last segment with John Eikist, this idea of a day on instead of a day off.
Yeah.
I'm curious kind of where that conversation...
And the conversation started long before I started at TMA, which I've been there nearly about 5 years, but it was I know, time flies.
Crazy, yeah.
And it started before then, and I believe it was a fellow who actually talked about the idea, and they tried it, and it was a hit with the community. Traditionally, the University of Toledo has always done something publicly with Savage Hall. Of course, like after COVID, that stopped. But we have always collaborated to do something really, really meaningful with other anchor institutions that are also doing things. All of them, though, are not open on that day. So we're sort of the place, the anchor place where everyone can come and gather.
And the Toledo Museum of Art is always free. So this
Always.
day is free for families and kids and
always
grandparents and everyone to come by. What kind of things can people expect? And is there an age group that's more appropriate for this day than not?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, and I want to add to what you just said, Gretchen. As of January of last year, it's so weird to say that, last year of 2025, our parking is also free due to the generosity of Taylor Automotive,
Absolutely.
Senior Taylor, and so we are just so proud about that. But no, it is tailored for everyone and every single age group. We have something really for everyone, from crafts to speakers to performances as well. And I just want to add a little bit of Toledo history, if I can. And many people don't know this, but Dr. King actually was in Toledo, spoke before thousands at Scott High School 7 months before his assassination.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's mind-blowing. I've seen the pictures, I've seen some of thousands of people were there, including students.
Sure.
But thousands of people from the community were there, and one person that you all know in media, Lisa Guyton, her family was very active in civil rights at that time. So there's a picture of her and her relative holding her, I believe it was her grandmother and not her mother, and Dr. King standing in their home.
Oh my gosh.
And so she's a little baby. So yeah, it's like we have so many touch points and connections with, I think the founding of even civil rights, being that we are like the third oldest branch to have an NAACP in Toledo, and all of those things. And so I just wanted to add that little, Toledoism here on the show, just in case your viewers and watchers did not know that.
Well, and this Monday, you'll be creating an opportunity for there to be more connective tissue. Right?
Exactly. We have a host of activities going on. We will open on that Monday, which is the 19th, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Again, free, open to the public. Our cafe will be open also at that time. The Family Center activities are the hit.
The Family Center.
I mean, it
has been an oasis for a dad.
It is such a hit. It is such a hit.
I've left my children there, which you can do, your words, just for hours unattended.
What are the hours again, Matt?
4 a.m. Until 3
Until the police are called.
I'm always forced to watch Matt's kids there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Take away from lobbying activities to watch Matt's kids.
That's right. There's a lot of lobbying goes on.
But it is. I mean, even beyond MLK Day, Matt, it is such a hit with both parents and kids. And we will have Dr. King related crafts going on. And that's for the entire time of the day.
That persons that are
they're
so
amazing.
Nice. Again, I am not by any means artistic or craft oriented.
They are.
And it is a great place to say.
I
know that this conversation is of a higher purpose, but just a reminder of the deliverables at the museum week in and week out.
And that was because of Mrs. Libby, Florence Scott Libby. She is the one that really is the one that perpetuated all of that. And so we have the Family Center to be thankful for her. That whole wing, that educational wing, is dedicated to her. Outreach activities as well. Our outreach department is amazing. We don't expect everyone to come into the museum and cross our threshold. We now go out into the community so that they'll have activities, and they are rock stars. And everyone knows them. So people who come from the neighborhood or beyond, give them high fives. They know them them by their first name. It's incredible.
Can you talk a little bit about the neighborhood? Obviously, you're an anchor in it. I live in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, talk to me about all. I mean, that to me has always been a connection there, but it appears to be on an almost meteoric rise.
It is. I mean, we're seeing anywhere from 14 to 18% rise in visitation just in that 2-mile radius.
Yeah.
And the 2-mile radius is something that we focus on because it is a very underserved population. We've identified at least 5 zip codes that are very distinct and very different,
That's right.
but underrepresented and underserved. And so many of them, you know, prior to, I would say, Adam Levine's administration, really were a little leery about visiting the museum because they didn't know much. They thought that we did charge and things of that sort, and they would be judged about, you know, how they looked or presented themselves, and that was very real. I mean, we had listening labs to reveal that information, and then now, total change. Like
that's amazing.
I can tell you,
change.
you know, on a sort of relatively selfish note, you and I are collaborating, working quite a bit of late, and you know, the Riverwalk project is something we're immensely proud of. But as we sort of work towards one another, both literally and metaphorically, there's a lot of individuals that live in that only 2-mile stretch between the river and your institution that we're hoping to connect more to. So that's been a great and fulfilling experience for me, and I think it only complements your outreach.
Well, and you know, you didn't pay me to you know, uplift the Metro Parks, but the Metro Parks gets it as well. The museum and the Metro Parks and several other anchor institutions know that community matters, and we are seeing high visitation rates at that Glass City Riverwalk, high visitation rates at the Toledo Museum of Art. And to me, that means trust.
Agreed.
Has been established. And I think, you know, getting back to Dr. King's principles, he would be in some of those meetings that you and I, you know, engage in, because that was his dream.
We're talking with Rhonda Sewell from Toledo Museum of Art. They've got a big event coming up. They're going to be open Monday for Dr. Martin Luther King Day. What are some of the other things that people can expect to see when they come out to the museum on Monday?
So I'm really excited about a particular keynote speaker that we have, and I feel really responsible for this because back in April of last year, I co-hosted a belonging symposium with people from all over in the museum field and arts and culture sector. And one of my speakers was Dr. Maurice Stinnett, and he is basically a DEAI practitioner. He's worked for the NBA, he's worked for, you know, music industry. He's just an amazing speaker. And in our surveys from the Belonging Symposium, he was a hit with the attendees. And so the programming department, which is run through our education department, decided to bring him in to be the keynote speaker. And the title or the theme is Strength and Unity, which is the theme for our entire day. And so he'll be talking, waxing poetic, definitely, about that. And he has this sort of preacher cadence, and it's going to be amazing. And he is an Ohioan, actually, Yellow Springs, Ohio, where the governor's from. And so he's going to be speaking. That's at 11:45. We have voices from BGSU. They will be there. They are an amazing choral group and other activities. And so we just want everyone, the families, to come out. And you can see the entire schedule on toledomuseum.org to get the full breadth of what we're doing. And we've had a lot on our social media pages if you follow those.
No tickets required?
No tickets required. Just come as you are, enjoy the day. It's almost like old home week, you know, because everyone sees everyone that you haven't seen in a long time. Lots of selfies going on and lots of people hugging.
Speaking of selfies, it's time to put you on the spot.
Okay, here we go.
It's time for Gretchen's Wacky Quiz.
They made that name up.
Did they?
Yeah, it's bad.
I don't know.
See?
You don't know.
See,
all right,
she's a true friend.
4 rapid fire questions from me.
I'm so afraid.
Number 1 favorite thing in Toledo from Gretchen, and 9 words to describe Toledo is going to be coming from Matt.
Jesus.
Here's your 4 rapid fire questions. Number 1, what's your favorite way to waste time online?
Remember FCC.
Okay.
Remember FCC regulations.
Okay, Okay, close that website.
That's right.
No, it definitely is sending memes, stupid memes to my friends.
Sure.
I can verify that.
Yes, at 2 in the morning.
How many times a day do you lose your keys or your phone?
5.
That was a very
It's taking like a Family Feud feel to it.
Show me 5.
That's right.
What's the best thing you've ever eaten from a restaurant?
Village Idiot Pizza in Toledo, or Mommy technically.
Wow, okay, that was quick.
And your favorite place to shop?
Chico's at Levis Commons.
That's true. I'm going to verify all these.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gretchen, thank you for
What's the your number one favorite thing, or what you consider to be the best thing in City of Toledo?
The best thing is definitely the people. We've got grit, we've got lasting power. We believe in this city. It's definitely the people.
Okay.
Don't use all your good words.
You say I've got
Oh,
some.
sorry,
Yeah, you got
sorry.
words.
Oh,
I'm
we
taking
have to-
grit. I'm taking grit. I'm taking lasting power.
Okay.
So now you only have 7.
Lasting power. The best thing about the people.
The
Best thing
region.
about Toledo.
9
best
words.
thing
9
about best
9
thing
words to
about
describe the
Toledo.
region.
Oh, okay. This is hard. I'm not sure if we should
If
continue
it was
with
easy,
this.
Rhonda, everyone would do it.
Okay, definitely our waterfront.
Got it.
Our metro parks, our library system,
Got
our
it.
museum.
Got it. 3 left.
I would say definitely our philanthropy.
Got it.
You're
almost home too. Bring me home.
Our sense of belonging.
All right, belonging.
Our sense of being a welcoming city.
Welcoming is 9.
See, that was easy.
Look
for
at
you.
that.
All that anxiety.
For me, maybe.
When she had just 3 left,
Yeah.
I was like, it's real easy. Just work your way down the line. And then,
Yeah, that
nope.
is.
She
Yeah,
went
I
a different,
did.
a different route.
She did.
Yep.
That was for the bonus round.
That's right.
I
You know
was
what's
told
been
I had
very,
a bonus round.
Oh, okay,
It's
that's
been
right.
very interesting is that almost every guest that we've had on has said welcoming is one of the words.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
I mean,
I think is great.
Our city and our county both are welcoming a city. We're a welcoming city. We're a welcoming county. We were one of the first in Ohio to be a welcoming county. And then the city followed. And I think that is very important for, refugees, for immigrants, for people. And it really tells you the vibe of this city, like who we are at our core.
Rhonda, you are an incredible leader in our community.
Thank you.
You are an incredible leader in the African American community.
Thank you.
As we look ahead to Dr. Martin Luther King Day this coming Monday, what is your hope for people in Toledo? What do you hope they take away from that day? What do you hope they bring to the rest of their year?
It's really easy, and I'm so glad that you asked that because, Dr. King talked about being judged by not the color of your skin, but the content of your character. And I really think, I was looking on Instagram at some story, and it talked about how alike we are as people. And when we talk about specifically races, we're so much more alike than we are different. And I think that was his whole point. Everybody just wants quality of life. Everyone just wants to live in peace. Everyone wants that. And when you diminish that, it diminishes the fabric of this beautiful country that we live in with a lot of problems as well. But I think if we could all get together on that, I think that's the mission of hosting events like this at the museum, is for everyone to come together.
Beautiful.
If that's not the definition of Rhonda has spoken,
That's right.
That's
I don't
nice.
know
Hashtag.
what is.
Yeah,
Rhonda,
thank
thank
you
you so much,
Kevin.
Rhonda Sewell
Thank
from
you.
Toledo
Thank
Museum
you
of Art.
guys.
Thank you.
When we come back, we continue our tour of upcoming events in Toledo, driven by Tarda with Andrew Newby from Toledo Spirits. Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And Tarda, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarda.com. Welcome back into the 419. We're taking a look at some of the top events coming up this weekend in Toledo. And we're joined by another good friend of the show from Toledo Spirits, Andrew Newby.
Good morning.
Andrew, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely, thank you. Glad to be here. You guys have a fancy studio and everything. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Moving on up.
Yeah.
Impressive.
We're moving
it's
up in
impressive.
the
We're all
world.
very proud of you.
If people aren't familiar with Toledo Spirits,
There's
I
obviously
don't know what rock they've been
Right.
living under, but tell us,
Sure.
what is Toledo Spirits Company?
Yeah, absolutely. Toledo Spirits, small craft distillery founded in 2013 with myself, Lucas Coomer, and Dustin Wade. And just three friends got together and decided it was a cool idea to start making craft spirits using local ingredients and a lot of ingenuity and fun and passion.
And where's it located and why is that important?
Yeah, absolutely. We started it in the Vistula neighborhood at 1301 North Summit, Toledo's oldest neighborhood, Toledo's poorest neighborhood. And it seemed like the right choice to start something that was all about manufacturing and design and using local ingredients and working with local farmers, but starting that in Toledo's very first neighborhood.
And I want to talk about what that space looks like today, but when you guys first moved into it, I mean, it wasn't a public...
It was a palace.
Yeah, I mean, but it was...
we brought it down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, but I think about, when I first found you guys was through your kind of limited releases or like, hey, Saturday come out and buy this.
From 2 a.m. till from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. and
whiskey, what at WTF? What Whiskey Tango?
Yeah,
Foxtrot.
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot was our very first whiskey. We made it. We still make it. It's based off of work with different microbreweries, use their beer, turn it into our whiskey. It's a fun experimental thing, wild flavor profiles. But that's really where the very first thing we started making back in 14 when we actually got our federal license to do all these things. But my wife and I, Kristen Kaiser, we bought our that building in 2001, and really thinking that downtown was going to be growing that direction. So as we were developing our
2001.
Wow. Yeah. So our technology company Avatar, we started in '97 down on Erie Street, and as we were growing, we were looking for a place to expand. We wanted to develop a data center, wanted to help small companies like ours incubate and develop knowledge-based economy within Toledo. And so we found this building, fell in love with it. And it's a tiny little company. We needed 2,000 square feet, so of course we bought a 27,000 square foot building. Developed from there. We've probably incubated maybe a dozen tech companies out of that building over the years. And but in 2013, after we opened Black Kite in the Old West End, we're like, well, we live in the Old West End. We have a coffee shop in the Old West End. Maybe we should move to the Old West End, or let's do something really cool with the building on Summit Street. And so we said, well, let's see what happens if you start making whiskey and gin.
Yeah, I was a beer only person. I loved craft beer, right?
Yeah.
But I just could not get into liquor at all.
Yeah.
And somebody had told me, or I saw online somewhere, something about Whiskey Tango Foxtrot and the novelty of whiskey made from beer became a kind of bridge for me that I was like, oh,
interesting.
Let me try this, right?
I never thought about it that way, as that bridge. But one of the things we do is really try to make it so you taste the beer in the whiskey.
Yeah,
so that's really interesting.
And so then I found my way into Manhattans and all the other things. And
Absolutely.
So it was all downhill from there.
Yeah. Did we give you the first taste for free? Is that how this?
That's right. No, but I do remember I had a fundraising event for a friend of mine that we did a tasting there, and I'd said after that event, I still think it's a good idea, but it would need to be. I think it would need to be heavily sponsored or supported by Black and White Transportation. But I want a tasting with the original beer and the whiskey from the beer.
Yes, absolutely. We did that with Black Frog Brewery really early on. They made a beer. They made a lot of that beer. We drank some of the beer. We made some whiskey out of it. So then you'd come in and you'd be able to taste them side by side. And it was a wild experience because it wrecks your palate pretty quickly, but at the same time, really getting to see how those flavors come through, especially things like the hops and the yeast and the other components of whiskey that you don't really talk about.
You've obviously evolved into other products as well beyond whiskey, and you've developed a beautiful space there.
Thank you.
On Summit.
Thanks.
Talk to us about what the rest of the menu looks like and what that space looks like today.
Yeah, it really changed when the Ohio laws were updated to allow us to open a cocktail bar. Before that, we could only do little samples of our spirits. So that was really kind of driving the work we were doing. And once we were able to open up Bellwether, our cocktail bar, that really changed our perspective on what we were making, and it really became focused in on great spirits that make great cocktails. You know, spirit as an ingredient, and really thinking about how to develop these kind of complicated layered flavor profiles in a great cocktail. So that's really driven our R&D and our development of the brand, as well as the flavors we're going for, the ingredients that we seek out. And that's really what our focus is today, that we kind of represent each of the main categories of spirits, which is unusual for a small distillery, and try to continue to develop and hone that idea of how you experience the spirit is really about the other ingredients that go along with it.
And I imagine the R&D meetings in that building are quite fun. And
yes,
the menu, just the regular menu at Toledo Spirits, but also the holiday or the themed menus are
yes.
expansive and complex and interesting and creative. How long,
Thanks.
like for example, does it take you to come up with like the holiday menu that you put out every year?
The holiday one is a pretty complex one, so that's usually conversations are starting in September or October to really start planning that out, because that's it's a full sensory experience.
As is this.
Yes, this is a full experience. The smells in here are amazing.
That's right. Yeah,
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But even like the glassware, I mean, all that has to be planned pretty far in advance.
I think I know the answer to this, but you wear multiple hats, as do your partners in every conceivable way of the word partner.
Yeah.
What does a day, week look like? How do you balance all these things? Or how do you accept the fact that you can't?
Just accepting that and moving on. Actually just the idea of being able to juggle multiple things simultaneously is just a fun thing. I really enjoy that aspect of the work, is that it's, you get to kind of touch on everything. It kind of epitomizes the history and culture of Toledo in my mind, that we are manufacturing based, we are engineering based, we are design based, we have the physical work part of our economy, we have the knowledge part of our economy. Where we're physically located has a big, huge impact on who we are as a people.
Certainly.
Not only the obvious things like the river, but even the access we have to locally grown produce, which is such a big part of my passion right now, is really thinking about the things that we grow and how those things going directly into our into the food chain for us, whether that be something like strawberries or asparagus that can be grown right down the street.
What is your big hope for where you are on Summit Street, for that neighborhood?
Yeah.
What I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes, but certainly the Glass City Riverwalk is full steam ahead.
Tell me about this. What's this?
Well, what's going to happen is there's this organization. But
up and coming, this upstart organization.
Yes, one of these. They have these wacky ideas.
Yeah.
What is your vision? What is your dream for that? What that part of Summit Street's going to look like?
Yeah, it's a continuous balance of the upliftment of the neighborhood, the betterment of the neighborhood for the people that live in the neighborhood, combined with the opportunity of Summit Street, the Lower Town Entertainment District, which it includes the Riverwalk, includes Summit Street, and thinking about how do we encourage people to come down into Vistula and experience Vistula the way we see it, the walkability of the neighborhood. So it's a balancing between those two things: reduction of blight, improvement of access to services, rebuilding of trust, with these opportunities for people within the neighborhood.
And one of the ways you're working to get people down onto Summit Street and into your place is some of these classes that you're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's several really fun ones, even for people that, for some unknown reason, are doing dry January, or who just generally don't drink. Everything on your menu can be made without alcohol in it.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, we embraced a dry January menu that we call "This Is Not a Cocktail," and all of the main cocktails. There's always usually about 12 signature cocktails for the main menu
That's
of the
a
season.
lot. That's
so
impressive.
It's a lot. So for January, all of those cocktails by default are mocktails, and then you can have it as a mocktail. You can have as a functional, which we've produced in-house, THC, kava, and ashwagandha. You can add into your mocktail for that functional experience, or you can actually just turn it into a cocktail. And it's really just about the idea of embracing that culture and understanding that moderation is a part of consumption. that we enjoy these things, we like these things, but it's also moderation's also perfectly acceptable in that context.
And so what are some of the classes?
So we do a lot of classes really around from deep dive experiences coming up. We've got our secret lab class, Booze and Beakers, I think is what it's called.
Fun.
And it's just really about like getting in with our head distiller and really understanding about some of the science that goes into what we're doing. So that's a really fun deep dive into the science of craft spirits, all the way over to classes that include flower arranging or painting or ceramics or anything like that. That's a combination of, again, that manufacturing piece, the crafting piece of it. Have a cocktail come in and make something.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, with your hands.
Such a great environment
And,
to do something like that.
Fun stuff from margarita classes to Bloody Mary classes to old-fashioned classes to
sake.
There's a sake class on Thursday night that we're partnering with Black Kite Coffee. Rethink Sake come in. Tickets I think are $30, $35, and you get five samples of sakes. We'll have an expert there talking about where the flavors of sake come from, what the different styles mean. There's multiple different styles of sake and how it's produced. It's really absolutely fascinating because it's such an interesting beverage that a lot of people just don't know a lot about.
Yeah, very cool.
People looking for more information, where can they find it?
ToledoSpirits.com or at Toledo Spirits on the socials.
All right, Andrew Newby with Toledo Spirits, thank you very much. It's time for Gretchen's
Great.
Wacky
quiz.
Great.
She loves it.
It's not
That's
the official,
trademark.
that's not the official name.
That's trademark.
Here come the 4 rapid fire questions from me.
Yes.
Can you live without Wi-Fi?
Not
yes.
well.
I mean, there's an internet connection still, right? I just don't have Wi-Fi. I mean,
Gretchen's laughing.
there's other methodologies of accessing the internet, right?
She doesn't understand what I'm saying.
I knew the tech person was going to go to. Like, yeah, just hardwired.
Yeah, you just like do other
Still have
things.
internet, right,
I mean, there's still
guys?
radio. There's other things I could access the internet with, right?
If you could have an extra hour of free time every day, how would you use it?
Reading.
How do you like your steak cooked?
Medium rare.
And if you
preferably.
had to meet any historical figure and choose him or her as your teammate.
Oh.
In what way? Team of what?
Quidditch.
Quidditch.
Who would it be?
Historical figure and be my teammate. Man, gotta figure out what the team is.
Yeah.
That one's extraordinarily difficult, but I would say William the Conqueror.
Wow.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
Willie
Went
C.
there. What's
Yeah.
your number one?
Willie C.
Willie C. Yeah.
Is that what he went by in the neighborhood?
That's a trick. It was for flower arranging.
Yeah. You ever? If you carefully
Sociopath.
review the Bayou Tapestry, you'll see where it says Willie C.
And
just
have.
check it out.
And what is your number one most famous, I mean not most famous, most
No.
favorite or the best thing about Toledo or the region?
This is actually probably what everyone answers this, but the people. I think we have a wonderful, wonderful community.
Okay.
9 words, buddy.
Oh,
Fire 'em away.
so thank you for, I wrote a poem. So I was working for a word. You guys shared the word with me earlier when you were talking to Rhonda, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so I have Toledo rises, Glass River glows, grit feeds tomorrow now.
All right. Straight from William the Conqueror's mouth.
Willie C. right
He
here.
is Andrew Newby, a.k.a. DJ Willie C. on the ones and twos from Toledo Spirits. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate the time. What's next for Toledo Spirits? What's the next big thing?
Next big thing is Mardi Gras. So I just love our Bellwether Bon Temps menu. Just lean into New Orleans cuisine and culture and music, and we just have a roaring good time.
And that starts in February?
That starts February 5th, goes till February 15th, and then we have a Fat Tuesday Distillers Dinner. That will be amazing.
Awesome.
Cocktails and cuisine.
We'll have to have him come back.
Lots of great things. I think we talk about this all the time. There's so many different events and activities that are happening in Toledo.
Always
For the
something to
people, yeah, there's always something to do, and I love, like, we'll talk about it a lot, or you'll hear me say this a lot. I love when I see a full parking lot, right? When I pull in and I'm like, the spot closest to the place isn't available. There's this bittersweet moment for me where it's like I'd love for someone to like pull out just in time for me to go in, but I also love the fact that it's busy and there's a lot of stuff going on.
And all of Toledo Spirits events can also be found on Toledo.com.
There you go.
We didn't even talk about boozy brunch.
Let's talk. All right, real quick. Boozy brunch.
Oh.
Boozy brunch.
Ready
Okay.
to
Nine
words.
Another poem.
Okay, give me a minute. Yeah. Sundays from 11 to 3, we do brunch, cocktails, mimosa flights, espresso martini flights. Come in, get a lavender espresso martini. Absolutely fantastic. Great food. We do bingo from 11 to 2. Free. Just you come in, get some food, get some cocktails, have some fun playing,
Awesome.
So
playing
fun.
bingo, and it's just a fun, great, enjoyable, easy time.
Enough.
Easy time.
Andrew
ToledoSpirits.com.
Newby,
Thank you, guys.
Toledo Spirits, thank you so much.
Oh, boy.
We'll be right back to wrap up this edition of the 419. Stay tuned.
Every day when you walk
You laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your
together
childhood
again.
was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertained, informed, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into the 419. We're talking Toledo.com community calendar driven by TARTA. There's always so many great events happening in the region.
I like Thursdays to talk about all this stuff going on. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to get this kind of snapshot, and I think there's a diversity in the events that are happening, and so it's it's easy to fall into the routine of, this is the restaurant I go to,
Sure.
this is the, I go to this, for me, I go to this sporting event, or I go to that, cultural activity, or I go to that fundraiser. But to kind of have a snapshot of things that are outside of that circle a little bit.
It's also fun to just pick one of the things off here and maybe just you can go randomly.
You see, like the date, like card game, right? Where like you pull out a card or flip to a page in the book, and
Now,
that's
what's
the
this, a
date.
date? What's
That's
this
the
date you're
date
talking
night. So you start step one, go to the court, just pick anybody.
Got it.
Ask them out.
Okay.
And then say, I've
And
got
then
a
you
card.
go somewhere with
That's
them.
right. You go somewhere with them.
Interesting.
I've always wanted an app that did that even for restaurants. Like you just put it in there and it starts spinning, and whatever it is, you just go. So when we first moved here, we did that with the Huntington Center. I lived at the LaSalle building, and every other weekend we would just walk down and just buy tickets to whatever was happening. So I saw
my gosh, wrestling?
5 different horse things,
Circus.
monster truck, some circus
Yes,
stuff.
that's awesome.
It was fun.
There was a business in Dallas called Fill a Seat.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to bring that to Toledo. I don't know if our market, I'd have to rethink the business model a little bit to make it sustainable. But the whole idea was that I'd get,
Plus,
an
we had to get people to Dallas.
an email or that's right, an email or a text message saying, here's an event that has open seats.
Yeah.
Do you want free tickets to go? And so it was restaurant openings and
cool.
movie premieres and just different sporting events and comedy shows, and it was all like free tickets. You pay a membership and go.
Interesting.
But you get a free ticket, but you have to show up.
Yeah, that's where I would fall short.
Yeah, so we talked about some of the great MLK Day events coming up. Really cool activity happening at the museum on Monday. An opportunity for folks to see the museum on a Monday, which you normally don't get to do.
Right.
And then of course, boozy brunch, which is pretty much every breakfast with Gretchen.
That's right.
And the hours are superfluous. Yeah.
Brunch can happen anytime
Once that bottle opens.
you want it to happen.
That's
hey,
right.
if you missed any portion of the show, there's 3 opportunities Monday through Friday to tune in. 7 a.m. on WGTE's YouTube channel, 3 p.m. on FM 91, and 6 p.m. on WGTE Connect's channel 30.4. Thank you to TARTA for supporting our Toledo.com community calendar. Thanks to you for watching. It's the 419. Powered by WGTE, presented by Retro Wealth Management.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.